Thank you very much for having me. I would like in the next 12 very quick minutes to sort of walk you backwards through some of my work, starting with the most recent, meaning this gadget, which I bought, and maybe you bought it, because the ad promised me a revolutionary and magical experience. And I thought, I love revolution, and I love magic. So I brought the thing home. It works like a charm, but I was doing what I always do. I'm checking emails, I'm watching movies, and I'm listening to music. So it made me think, what more can you do with such a thing? If you play with it, what would come out? And this is what came out. Hey, hey.
Hi.
Introduce yourself, please.
Sure, I'm your freaking hand. What's up with you?
Do you think there's a verb that means to behave like a traditional ventriloquist? Like, hello, my friend, that sort of thing. Which
I don't know, like to ventriloquate?
Okay. Honestly, should I ventriloquate more instead of this approach, really?
Oh, I wouldn't worry about it. They say that high tech is the new talented, so you should be fine.
Great. In which case, would you like to do a duet for all these fine people right now?
Absolutely. It would be my pleasure.
I like the beep on the fly. Very professional, very nice.
Okay, that's another thing. Editing is the new conscientious, so again, you should be fine.
Fantastic.
But hey, hotshot, let's do this.
Yeah.
Why don't you give me a big, nasty beat?
Like a beatboxing beat? Like a pow, chicka bow wow, a chicka bow wow?
No. I mean, clearly that is a pornography beat, okay? Which, by the way, you watch a lot of pornography.
Whoa, that's inappropriate. But I mean, how would you know how much pornography I watch?
Oh, do you really want to get into this?
No. Okay, no, you're right. Okay. Why don't you give me a beat and then I'm gonna weave it into
genius. I know you can do this. Something real simple, all right? Like boom, ch, boom, boom, ch.
That's pretty simple.
Boom, ch, boom, boom, ch.
Boom, ch, boom, boom.
There you go.
Boom, ch, boom. Boom, ch.
Who does the shaking in a handshake deal? Who does the peeling of an apple peel? Who does the writing when a poet writes a sonnet? Here's a hint, if you like it, then you should have put a ring on it.
Boom, ch, boom, boom.
Talking about hands.
Boom, ch, boom, boom, ch. Go tell it on the mountain, then run and tell your ma. I got the whole world in the palm of my paw. Later I'll have data coming fast and furious. I'm not bionic, but I'm bionic curious. Boom, ch, boom, boom, ricky, boom, ch, boom. I talk with my hands.
When you're all alone.
I talk with my hands.
When you're on the freaking phone.
I talk with my hands, and I think I got a knack, because I talk with my hands.
And your hand talks back, going boom.
All right, keep it going. Same riff. I'm liking this.
Boom, ch, boom, boom, ch, boom, ch, boom, boom, ch, boom, ch, boom, boom, ch, boom, ch, boom.
You don't like Lady Gaga? Everybody likes. Oh, do you remember how to play it? Fantastic. So we'll go out with this thing, you know, the the full hoedown. Right, take no prisoners. Here we go. All right, but now really take us out. I want something classical and melodic. I want something kind of like... That's good. So my grandfather, our grandfather, had a saying, most good trout recipes really only have 2 ingredients, and one of them is trout. And I feel the same way about a story. Most good stories really only have 2 ingredients, and one of them is a story. Thank you. You.
Thank you.
That's nice. Thank you very much. I'm gonna make a technology trade with Dan, an iPad for a clicker. Before that invention came around to liberate me from, you know, big immovable screens, I liked to write pieces for big immovable screens. I'd like a little video, actually, if we can get that. I started going to conferences like TED and TED about 5 years ago, and I would muse to myself, are PowerPoint presentations an art form? I know that we file into darkened theaters to watch them, and I know that a lot of us use them. Okay, I know what they are at least. It seems to me they are at least how-tos. how to deal with healthcare, how to get a movable home, how to do a mashup. And I started thinking, okay, what do I know enough about to even warrant a PowerPoint? And then in a related question, but sort of separate, now that my iPhone has video capabilities in addition to photographic stuff, this is 2 years ago, it was brand new, presumably I can document my entire life. Now, will I? And should I? And what would that look like? So anytime you're ready, Tom, let's get a little music up here and we'll see how this goes. That's good. See, this is a lock. This is a fence. To the right, the sign. To the left, another sign. Just to the west, all the busy cars on the FDR. That's Manhattan, that's where I live. And this is a fence. And there is always a fence or a guard or a door. Your goal, accomplish the opposite of what that kind of stuff is for. You are not breaking the law at this point. You are breaking the law at this point, hop the fence. Don't get caught. I don't know how else to tell you this, but if you must do so in the middle of the blessed day, you might want to pick up an orange construction vest you find along the way. You will feel simultaneously conspicuous and invisible. This is a path that leads to a barge that floats on a river that isn't. Turns out the East River is not a river, it's a tidal strait. Strait because it connects Long Island Harbor with Upper New York Bay. Tidal because it changes its opinion reliably 4 times a day as it flows past the Williamsburg Bridge. There's a view of the bridge from the shore. And the barge from the shore. To the left there, what appears to be a girder turns out to be a girder, or if you wish, a gangplank you could use to cross over the water. You want to get to all the barge-type treasures. The fire, the ice, a whole menagerie of things you don't usually get to see. And their shapes will shift so that this becomes that, and that becomes this crane. Way up at the top, about 20 stories off the deck, is a bucket roughly the size of a phone booth on its side. And I happen to know what a phone booth on its side looks like, but that's an unrelated or almost totally unrelated adolescent anecdote, and I don't want to talk about it. So there it is. We've already seen a lock, we've seen a fence, and we've ignored some signs, and we've gone down a path to get to a gangplank, to cross to a barge where our adventure will end eventually. It all depends on what we do about that crane, which is big, and it's red, and it's exactly where we want to be. Step 1. Step 2, and ladder makes 3. This is the view from inside a bucket, on top of a crane. It sits on a barge that floats on a river that flows past a bridge on its way to a harbor that girdles an island where I make my living. Try to make money, make love, maybe make a little mischief. But as for mischief, I remind myself at high noons and midnights that I'm not attracted to such antics just because they are illegal. I hope not. I am attracted to such antics just because they are pretty. And that is what I know. And that is how you trespass in New York City. Thank you. Thank you. So I find that creating stuff like this creates just as many questions as it addresses, and sometimes I'm interested, sometimes I'm not. Questions like, is technology a distraction or an augmentation? Debate. What do you call these kind of things anyway? And then my favorite is, okay, smarty pants, and all of us here today that have used this. What happens when we just go off the grid? The technology fails, and we're all just essentially cavemen around a campfire. That scenario is honestly a poet's hero fantasy, okay? I would come up here on stage and somehow technology would just go and I'd be stranded in a room full of people in a beautiful 100-year-old theater that was designed for acoustic instruments and the human voice. I would open the blinds and I would do a poem. That's what I do. That's what I started out doing. I remember I remember the first time you named me good morning, and how the night before you considered my ceiling, where the passing cars outside cast their shadows in liquid lights through the slats of my blinds. You said, "Hey, Romeo, your CD player's skipping again, but your ceiling's like fireworks for poor folks," and I like that. I like the tall pauses you take when you tell your nephew's knock-knock jokes, and I like your theory that men and women's shirts button on opposite sides so that couples can get dressed facing each other after making love. And I like your theory that men and women's shirts button on opposite sides so that couples can get dressed facing each other after making love. And I like the way you tell your nephew's knock-knock jokes. I'm losing the thread of my poem. Can I start over? I'm going to start over. The point is, how do you get a cave woman to come around your particular campfire? Really, you know? I remember the first time you named me good morning, and how the night before you considered my ceiling, where the passing cars outside cast their shadows and liquid lights through the slats of my blinds. You said, "Hey, Romeo, your CD player's skipping again, but your ceiling's like fireworks for four folks," and I like that. I like the tall pauses you take when you tell your nephew's knock-knock jokes, and I like your theory that men and women's shirts button on opposite sides so that couples can get dressed facing each other after making love. Maybe I should Google it. And your remedy for insomnia is to pile every pillow and blanket into the tub. And you nap there like you're taking a patchwork bath. And I said once, "Oh, I wish I had a picture." And you said, "Oh, I wish that you and I had hot sex." You gave me a pedicure, and then elves showed up at our doorstep with a pizza to tell us, "Jesus just built a treehouse in the backyard and he'd really like to meet us both. So hop in, hotshot." You're weird with a capital we. And I'm grateful. I marvel. You've helped me hammer some of my worst manners into manhood, but I still admit, I like the way your shorts fit and how overall you'd call me smart, even though sometimes I do really stupid stuff. I forget my poems about you. And I like how you giggle with your lips closed like you've got a secret little moon in your mouth. But I'm not insisting you're some kind of goddess. I know you're suspicious of unspecific love poems. You're more like a sunflower growing in the courtyard of an old folks' home. You mean things to people on a daily basis, and this petty poem won't explain just how my favorite your face is, but I wish I'd been your bathroom mirror the day they took off your braces. You are so lovely. You are like a vivid video game, and I am the idiot kid just trying to get to your next level. I like your right shoulder angel, hell. I like your left shoulder devil. I admire the lively deeds you do, so if you come through a doorway again in a thrift store poncho or a drop-dead evening gown twirling and asking, "Well, what do you think?" I'm going to tell you, "Shit, howdy sunshine, sit your fine self down." If you're looking for a compliment, I think you've come to the right place. Thank you, PSU. I had a good time.